My goals are simple: to help you win money playing fantasy football. I'm here to change the way fantasy players approach an upcoming season by bringing in people, developing processes, and methods that will increase your chance to win a championship year after year. I'm Buster Brown, and this is Fantasy Football Redemption Rehab.
All right, welcome back. This is Redemption Rehab. I'm Buster Brown, and if you tuned in today, it's because you want to get better at one thing: fantasy football. Today, we're talking tight ends. We're going to give you everything there is to know, where you draft them, the reasons why, and the facts to back it up. So let's hit the chalkboard and get this party rolling. Did you know that in 2018, that 0 tight ends had 400 plus points, 0 tight ends had 300 plus points, only 4 tight ends had 200 plus points, and that 14 had 100 plus points, for a total of 18 players that had 100 plus points according to the NFL scoring. Let's compare that to wide receivers and running backs. Did you know that in 2018, 74 wide receivers had over 100 points? 48 running backs had over 100 points compared to 18 tight ends. Did you know that in 2018, if you subtract the number 12 tight end, Jimmy Graham, 130 points, from the number 1 tight end, Travis Kelce, with 294 points, you'll see that it's at a 164-point differential. Divide that by 17 games, and you'll see that it's a 9.6 points per week, per game difference between the number 1 tight end and the number 12 tight end. That is a huge point differential, especially in a 12-man league. Let's check out waiver wire availability. Waiver wire availability for tight ends is less than 10%. Good luck finding a quality tight end for the year on the waiver wire. It just doesn't happen. For a better understanding on tight ends, we need to go back to 2017 and take a look at the top prospects coming into the league that year. If you want to compete in fantasy football, you need to know who's coming into the league. Let's go to website drafttech.com for a little bit of help. They are a complete guide to who's coming into the league. As you can see behind me, the number 1 prospect coming in the league that year was O.J. Howard from Alabama. The number 2 prospect that year was David NJUKO from Miami, Florida. The number 3 prospect that year in 2017 was Evan ENGRAM from Ole Miss. And if you look down the list, you'll see that George Kittle from Iowa was the number 9 prospect. Why is that important? Because when you know who's coming in the league and these guys start producing, you're going to pick them up on the waiver wire, or better yet, you're flat out going to draft them because of what you saw in the preseason. What's important about these players? They all have an ADP, average draft position, in 2019 of top 10. That's why you need to know who's coming into the league at every position, none more than important in the hard-to-find tight end position. You may also want to look out for the rest of the players on this list that haven't produced yet, like Jonnu Smith, Blake Jarwin, Gerald Everett, and Jake Butt. They all have a chance to produce this year. Some players take longer than others, so don't count them out. So knowing who's coming into the league is very important. So tight ends that were rookies in 2018, players like Dallas Goedert, Mark Andrews, Hayden Hurst, Ian Thomas, and Mike Gesicki, all were top-rated tight ends coming out of college, looking for a bust-out season in 2019. If you move on to 2019's NFL draft, you'll see from Draft Tech, from the sheet behind me, you'll see that players like T.J. Hawkinson, Detroit, Noah Fant going to Denver, and Irv Smith heading to Minnesota are top 3 tight ends you may want to keep your eye on this year and may want to draft in the future. But let me give you a little information about rookie tight ends and why they might be something
you might want to avoid,
at least for 2019. Rookies usually take time to develop, mostly because of the speed of the game. But rookie tight ends are usually less productive than any other position players, including running backs and wide receivers. Let's check out the facts. Did you know that since 2000, there's only been 5 rookie tight ends that landed in the top 10 in scoring in the NFL on that year? Let me give you those 5, starting with number 1. It was Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski caught 42 receptions for 546 yards with a whopping 10 TDs and a top 10 ranking of 5th among tight ends in 2010. Who was the number 2 rookie tight end? Evan Engram caught 64 passes for 722 yards and 6 TDs for a top 10 tight end ranking of 5th in fantasy football in 2017. That's a big deal for a tight end to make the top 10 tight end list in scoring. Who were the other 3? Let me give them to you, because it's only happened 5 times in the last 19 years since year 2000. Number 3 was Jeremy Shockey of the New York Giants. Number 4 was John Carlson. And the last one to end up in the top 10 fantasy scoring tight ends was Randy McMichael in 2002. That's it. Those are the facts. Rookie tight ends usually don't produce. For whatever reason is, and if you take one and he's your number 1 player, good luck. I make a habit of never doing it. I'd much rather go with a 2nd or 3rd year player that has learned the ropes. Knowing who's coming in the league is why I win championships. Knowing rookies that are coming into the league gives you a huge advantage of your competitors for this year and for years to come. It gives you an advantage because as soon as they start to show signs of improving, you can pick them up in the draft during preseason, or better yet, pick them up on the waiver wires. This is important for all position players, not just tight ends, but for running backs, wide receivers, and quarterbacks. So where does that leave us on the position priority list when it comes to tight ends? Tight ends are number 3. Why? They're more important than picking quarterbacks. They're more important than picking defenses. They're more important than picking kickers. Why? They're just so hard to come by because of availability. So what rounds do you draft a priority tight end? From rounds 3 to 6. How do I go about picking a tight end? What I do is I do a tier list. I do tight ends in tiers 1, 2, and 3. And rounds 3 and 4 are my tier 1. Those are my priority tight ends. If one of them falls to me, then I'll probably grab them. If one of my tier 1 tight ends doesn't fall to me, then I'm looking to get a priority tight end in rounds 5 to 6. For some reason, if I get shut out in my top 2 tiers, I'm going to go to tier 3 and pick a tight end from the best of the rest, from rounds 7 to 12, and I just may end up taking more than 1, 2, or 3 to fill in a position of weakness. And if I'm weak at tight end, I'm okay with that, because I've been winning championships for years as long as I'm only weak at one position, and normally it's at tight end. Why? Because people take the ones I like earlier than I'm willing to pull the trigger. So in summary, you should be familiar with all position players coming into the league, but tight end's important because if you find a rookie or a 2nd or a 3rd year player as a sleeper at tight end, you've got a huge advantage simply because they're so hard to find. I'm Buster Brown. This is Redemption Rehab. Good luck.